Just waiting for people to come on. Just going to do a quick live. It's not going to be for very long. It's the 7th, is it, or the 8th? I can't remember. Is it the 8th of May? Might even be the 9th now. Completely losing track of time. Dear, oh dear. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing really well. I just thought I'm on a lovely walk at the moment, so I thought I would just do a little bit of a live and a catch-up. I've been doing research for a big part of the day, so I just thought I'd update people with what I've put into the document, and it's getting there. It's hopefully it won't be long until I can send it out now, but some of the things that I've found in the last couple of days appears to be quite important. Just a little bit of a recap. I was in the police for 18 years, and since 2022 I've uncovered, with the help of others, irrefutable evidence of decades-long government fraud, and it is literally the key to Earth's new beginning, if you like, okay, to stop all of the problems that have been happening. And I think we're really getting to a big reason through the evidence as to why we're in this mess. And some of the stuff I found in the last couple of days helps to support that. So there's a couple of things I'm just going to mention. And what our governments have done, have had this criminal system in place to exploit and victimise most people, and have a select few be the ones that are, running the world, if you like, and exploiting everybody in the process of doing it. But it's also linked in, as you're aware, if you've been watching me, to the Vatican and into the falsified prophecies. And there's more evidence that I've found in relation to that. So I'm just going to have a quick look at the comments, because I do neglect people on here. I do apologise sometimes. Gary, I was thinking, can you get a dog for safety? I've been thinking about my Rosie so much recently, and just every time I think about it, I struggle not to get angry, and I just feel there must be pure evil behind this, just for that reason alone. But no, I think it's better for me not to have a dog at the moment. It just means I have that little bit of freedom. It means I can move around easier, haven't got to worry about them, having another life to worry about by my side. Although that would be lovely for me in that, in respect of company, etc. I just think it's best at the moment not to. But I was just thinking about Rosie, funny enough, today again, and still haven't seen her since the 1st of September last year, and 1st of October 19th of September last year, when I was arrested. And I doubt very much she's alive. So no, in answer to your question, it wouldn't be good for me to have a dog at the moment. May I ask, please, what happened to Rosie? Yeah, so when I was arrested on the 19th of September last year, they took Rosie, they took my van. I then got out of prison on the 1st of October. Whole another level of whole story going through that, but I won't go through the prison side of things again. When I got released, the first thing I did was trying to phone the kennels where Rosie had been kept, and I was told that Rosie had been taken the day before by somebody called Lisa. So I presumed it was one of my family members. Anyway, I spoke to one of my family members. They confirmed no, it wasn't. It was supposedly they received a phone call from the kennel the day before I was released saying, is it okay? Is there any reason that I can't give Gary's dog to his wife, Lisa? Now, the person in my family knew no reason at that point not to, okay, even though I had information to suggest the dog may be at risk based on what my wife had said about animals previously, which was that something she disclosed to me in the last few months prior to us splitting up, is that she remembered harming an animal, a dog, when she was younger. Now, obviously, I hadn't relayed that to my family. I hadn't had a chance to do that because I was arrested, and I didn't think it was going to be necessary. So anyway, then the dog was taken supposedly that day, and I've never heard anything since. Now, a guy who they positioned, who is linked to the international government fraud via his wife at the very least, who they positioned as a joint tenant, has I believe, lied. I believe Steve Price is his name, living in Christchurch. I need to expose them all. He has told my family members that my wife has said that she's got the dog and the dog's fine. I believe that's a lie. I don't believe they've actually. I think something happened to them, to Rosie. I think they probably hurt her or took her life deliberately. That's what I suspect, because I've requested multiple times to have some sort of messages. Other people have said messages just to get back to me, to let me know that Rosie's still alive and that she's well, and everyone's gone silent about it. So I suspect they either hurt her accidentally and put her to sleep, or they deliberately harmed her and took her life. That's what I suspect on this. So so it's very hard for me not to get angry about that thought and the fact that I'm probably never going to see her again. But this just shows the level of corruption and evil within the people around me, it seems. Anyway, ghost story started yet? Yeah, I'm up in a obviously a very dark area, and I haven't got any other torches, so I'm sorry about this, but I don't normally do it out of my tent. But it's just been nice where I've been doing my research and then doing a little walk afterwards. I've just been using that downtime to do a little live every now and then, let people know I'm alive, and just update people a little bit as to what I'm doing. So anyway, those that you saw my live over the last couple of nights, I've identified some very important and relevant information, it seems, in relation to the collider technologies. So you had a Hera collider, which was in a German collider, and I didn't know the exact date that had been activated for the first time. It turns out it was in 1991, which is a very key year. That's the year that David Icke came out and said the world would be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis, and he is connected to the intelligence agencies, to the international drug trafficking network, and to the blood of the tortured children, very, very quickly in multiple ways. Okay, this obviously links in with the falsified prophecies, then with the earthquakes and tsunamis, etc. How this links in with the apparent collider technology. Anyway, when you research what happened on that exact date, it was the information came up suggesting it was the same day as the Russian coup, okay, where the new Russian government started and the old Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, collapsed or stopped being in control of Russia. But they've tried to hide that information because the summary and the information suggests it was on that day, the exact same day that Hera collider was activated. But when you go into the articles, it doesn't even mention it. So it looks as though they removed the information from those websites. When you go into another one, it suggests that the Russian coup occurred in August, which was 2 months, I believe, before the activation of the Hera collider. Anyway, so now I've the other thing that happened in relation to the collider, which I publicised the other day, and this was what triggered me to look into what had happened on the activation dates, is the CERN collider was first activated in 2008, and on the exact date that was activated, sorry, not the exact date that it was activated, sorry, the date it was activated was in 2008. I think it was 9 days later. There was a technical problem with the machinery. Okay, now they again have tried to hide that information now as to that date tying in with a malfunction or some sort of problem with the CERN collider, or they've done this deliberately to make me think that there was a problem with it and how it ties in with the manipulation of time as a deception to assist in destroying faith as part of the satanic agenda. Anyway, 9 days after they activated, there was this technical issue. On the exact same day is when Stephen Hawking unveiled a clock called the Corpus clock at the Cambridge University. Okay, and the research from that clock links directly to Siemens, which means it links to CERN, and it links to the Nazi infiltration, okay, and the deception around that, and then going back into the 3 World War deception. There's loads more evidence coming in from that clock, so it's obviously very, very relevant in all of this. Now, the name of the clock is the Corpus clock. Go and look at it, Corpus, and it's at the Christie. I think it's called the Christie or Trinity, something to, it's got Christie, I can't remember the exact name because I haven't got it in front of me, but it's at the Cambridge University and it's got the word Christie to do with it. Well, Christi Corpus, or Corpus Christi, sorry, I can't remember which way round it is, relates to the Euro Christ and the Holy Communion, linking into Christianity and the blood of Christ. So it's got this connection again to the blood of Christ, to this clock that they unveiled with Stephen Hawking on the same day as this problem with the technology at the Large Hadron Collider. Now, remember, my dream had led straight. If you've been following my evidence, you'll know that my dream, via the ninth circle information, led straight into the actual control panel of the Large Hadron Collider, and information I acquired that suggests that when there's a technical issue, they call it hell or the ninth circle. Now, my dream, okay, was not as a result of information linked to that. Okay, it just happened to lead into information that I then acquired in relation to the control panel of the Large Hadron Collider. Anyway, it now turns out that the date of the activation, hold on, let me make sure I get this right. Hold on. So I've done the date of the Hera. Oh, that was it. Turns out that the date of the activation of the relativistic heavy ion collider, which they claim is real, which was the collider that they started building in 1991. Okay, so the Hera was activated for the same in 1991. That is was a German collider, and they started building that year the relativistic heavy ion collider in New York. Okay, and that there was scientists coming out, according to the research, saying it could cause a black hole on Earth, and yet they went ahead and they built it, or started building it. They activated it for the first time, okay, in 2000, which is the year before, obviously, the World Trade Center disaster. It turns out that on the exact date that they released that, that they activated it, is when X-Men, the first movie, was had its reveal or release in New York. X-Men, X again. Okay, so the X is tying in with the blood of Christ in all of this. Okay, because it's X seems to represent the hidden bloodline of Christ, hidden through the ages by the Knights Templar, and there's a hooked X symbol which appears to represent one of the lines in the X representing Jesus, or whatever Jesus' name was, the other line representing Mary Magdalene, and the little hooked part of that X, if you imagine like a little tail coming off of one of the X's, according to the research, potentially represents the... thank you very much, Corpus Christi. Someone's put Texas. Okay. I'm not aware of the Texas link. That's interesting. But the Corpus Christi relates to the bloodline, to the blood of Christ in the Euro Christ, which is the Holy Communion element, and how that ties in with all of it. Anyway, so X-Men was released on the exact day that happened in New York. Now, that in itself wouldn't be particularly interesting necessarily, okay? But when you research X-Men, the producer of that film, okay, called Bryan Singer, was involved in major allegations of sexual activity and crimes against underage individuals. So I've gone in through that research and linked it to multiple murders, okay, tying in with the international criminal network back into the falsified prophecies and everything I've been exposing. All right. So what there is a clear connection to the crimes against the children, the link to Jesus, okay, in this. It's obvious that the Christianity has been infiltrated deliberately. Now, I don't think that is Christ's true influence on those people to commit those crimes. I believe this is an infiltration via satanic elements into the Christian network. All right, and I believe they've infiltrated the scripture, they've infiltrated the Euro Christ, as an example, you know, drinking the blood of Christ and eating the blood of the body of Christ, a complete mockery. Why would you do that? Why would you do that of something that you aspire to and that you worship. And I think that's been deliberately introduced as a false element of Christianity to then integrate the blood of the children and the innocents into Christianity. Not only Christianity, but it looks like they've integrated it into the other Abrahamic faiths at the very least. So anyway, this X-Men connection goes into everything that I've been talking about. And you have this link with the X, and it's on the date of the activation of the relativistic heavy ion collider. Then somebody sent me some information, which is thank you so much to people that are sending me the information. I still haven't looked at my emails, but I will get around to doing it. I'm waiting until the document's ready to go out, and then I will send it out on the documents. So if anyone, I think I'd heard of it, but didn't know much about it. In between the twin towers in New York, they positioned a sculpture called the Sphere, or it's actually called the haven't got it in front of me. Koenig, the Koenig sphere. That was a sphere that was put there, okay, between the building. It was one of the largest, if not still the largest, certainly in modern times, brass sculpture. And it was a globe, a sphere, obviously like a sphere shape, and it was huge. Now this was positioned by a German. It was a German sculptor who had the surname of Koenig, Koenig, which means king in German. Okay, it means king in German. And this was positioned it was actually put there in 1972, which is the year before the World Trade Center buildings were completed. Okay, the World Trade Center buildings started to be built in 1966, which is when the Church of Satan was founded. So anyway, I've gone in and researched this sculpture, the guy that did the sphere, and he's linked directly to the horse bloodstock trade. Okay, now what I've been saying is that the bloodstock industry is being used to hide the blood of the children in all of this. I mean, it's obvious through my research that's what's happening with this, and the international drug trafficking network as well. So now we have a link to that sculpture and to the bloodstock trade via its creator. But it gets a lot more interesting. But let me just focus on the sculpture that was commissioned, okay, right back in 1966 when there was a guy, I can't remember his name, I've got it in front of me, who was designing, he was the architect for the World Trade Center, and he found out about the artwork of this particular sculpturist. So they employed him, okay, later to be the person to do this, and that was during the thought process and the conception of the World Trade Center building in 1966. So it doesn't go too far to then think, well, okay, well that's now tying in to the Church of Satan as well, because of the timing and how this all connects in. And then what I found out is obviously it's linking in with a satanic element, okay? Because so this sphere was put there in 1973, which was the year after Jimmy Savile purchased a property linking directly to Exbourne Manor, where my investigation began. Exbourne. If you turn that around, Bourne X. Okay, it links back into the connection to Christ in all of this. And now, I mean, I forgot this, but X becomes very important, doesn't it, with the blood with Christ, because that's why they call it Xmas. Now, obviously, I didn't really exactly realize why X. Well, X is an abbreviation of Christ. So you have Xmas. You have what was the other X? It was something of research. It's gone out of my mind. But the X is now very, very relevant. And the X, as I've said, it's the symbol, it seems, of the bloodline of Christ potentially still being here on earth. I'm just going to have a quick look at the comments. It's difficult to see comments on portrait mode and keep... Oh, I can turn it, I think. Will that allow me to... Oh, I might have to start again. It's not allowing... Oh, yeah, no, is that... No, it's not turning it automatically. Orientation is locked. Rotate device back. Okay. I'll leave it for now because I'm not going to stay on here for very long anyway. So anyway, this sphere, it was one of the only things to survive around the or to survive to a large extent. Okay, it was damaged obviously, but they actually then put it within one of the parks. I can't remember the name of the park, but I think that becomes relevant as well. And they obviously didn't repair it. They just left it there as a damaged globe, if you like. Now, it's very possible that that was symbolic of the Earth, symbolic of what they were potentially planning on doing to the Earth, potentially, or make people believe that's what they were going to be doing to the Earth. Now, when you go in from, so there's very little information about the person that actually created the sculpture, the sphere, in terms of who their relatives are. But when you research the Koenig family, the very first person that I found links straight into everything, like to the point where it links immediately into the Doomsday Cult. It links immediately into the Iona end of the world prophecy. It connects immediately to the Rothschilds, which is right the way through my research. So it's very likely that this sculpturist is related to these Koenig family members that are linked straight into the Doomsday Cult. So then, of course, we have to consider, well, that sphere was deliberately put there at the time, tying in with a planned attack on the Trade Center. It's obviously to do with everything I'm exposing, quite blatantly, obvious now. This is why they positioned a new high priest of the Church of Satan in 2001 after the world, well, I don't know if it was after, but it was the same year, the World Trade Center disaster. Somebody's put, would you like me to take over, Gary? What, take over how? Wesley's put. Just have a look at the comments. I used to talk about stuff like this on Twitter since X. I haven't used the app. Subconsciously, I rejected it. Yeah, I mean Elon Musk started changing it to X when I was exposing the fraud. Okay, in 2022, that's when it started, and he was obviously named one of his child. I think he's only got one child, hasn't he? Named his child X. X marks the spot. Yeah, double crossing. Okay, the double cross as well. So I think that probably, based on the evidence I've got, I suspect that was a deception for Christians. And I think they've all been deceived in relation to the crucifix, when actually that wasn't the real cross. The real cross is potentially the bloodline still existing here on Earth. Now, this all then ties in with why it looks like the Young Men's Christian Association was founded the same year as the Company's House Records began in 1844. So what I think, based on what I've seen with all of my evidence, I think you've got Christians that have been deceived, obviously, in all of this, because the Christian network has been infiltrated and possibly become implemented or implicated, shall we say, in the crimes against the children, thinking that that is somehow what Christ is about and Christ wants to happen. All right, now within the Bible, you have, particularly in the Old Testament, there's a lot of mention of the crimes against children, the sacrifice of children, etc. And I think what's happened, or at the moment it could be what's happened, they've infiltrated the scripture, deceived Christians to become involved in crimes against children, because somehow thinking that it's acceptable through Christ, when actually it's a complete mockery and an inversion and a deception against Christ and the innocence of the moral conscience. Right, so they've gone against the moral conscience. Now, they didn't need a Bible to tell them that. Nobody needs scripture to tell them that you don't do unto others that you wouldn't want done unto yourself. It's written within our DNA, okay, when we are in a rational state of mind. But the system removes, because it's satanic and it's a beast system, the system removes that rationality, which means you separate from the Creator and you end up slipping into sin. And I think this is very likely what's happened. But you've also got all of the three Abrahamic faiths are compromised by this. Someone's put X-Spirit on Musk's planes. That's good. Thank you very much for that. That's the sort of information I need. I wasn't aware of that. X marks the spot. Yep, someone's put. Thank you very much. Yeah, the X is very, very relevant in this. Now, when I found out about a company called DNA equals X, okay, and that linked to X-Born Manor as well, and they changed the company name to that after I started exposing the international government fraud, okay, when I was actually starting to publicise it was in 2023. So I was conducting all of these inquiries in 2022 within the company, trying to work out what had been going on, who's involved, who's not, arranging meetings. You know, there was a lot of stuff going on for those first few months in 2022. And then 2023, when I realised the whole system was compromising it. Well, they then created a company called DNA equals X, linked straight to X-Born Manor Freehold Limited. And how I found that was a chain of evidence coming in from Gutenberg's. And Gutenberg's was the German company that had printed the first Bible. The first Bible. It's unbelievable. It's not. It's all there. It's there for everyone to see it. Just have a look at the comments. Gary, they stopped voting in 30 areas of Northwest. Thanks, Jackie. There is no vote. There is no democracy. But yeah, very interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's all a lie. They're all involved in this. I don't have a smart TV. Someone's put. The only way to, in future, for our children will be to revive the Greek values. They are still waiting for you. I think the value's written within us. It's within us, isn't it? Like I've said, generally, most people don't want to hurt themselves, so they don't help, or they don't want others to hurt them, so they won't hurt others. That's the foundation, the principle foundation of moral conscience written within everybody, no matter what someone's skin color is, no matter what culture they are, no matter what their belief is. And this has been stated within Christianity, love thy neighbor, okay? And yet other elements of the scripture appear to go against love thy neighbor and thou shalt not kill, you know, which we all hear about, don't we? We all hear that that's one of the, I believe, one of the 10 commandments, is it? I think, I don't know, I could have that wrong. I'm not very good on all of the scripture, but I'm pretty sure that's a big foundation within Christianity. Well, they've gone against those two principles. Those two things would basically end any corruption on earth. It would literally end any corruption, any evil on earth. But the irrationality, through the satanic system, it seems, has been used to remove that, leading us into this point. Now, I've also done some more research around the, which is, I think this is an absolutely critical moment, again, leading into 1991, okay, you had the children at the school in America, where over 300 pupils all claimed that they had been sexually abused within a school. Now, they tried covering that up. And there was mention that the satanic cults were involved in that. There was also some mention, I believe, of there was actually, because I've gone into it a little bit more today, exactly the same modus operandi or MO as the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry, okay, which I found, I think it was today or yesterday, where there's actual allegations were made that babies were being decapitated and the blood was being drunk from those babies' bodies, not from the bodies, but the blood from their bodies was being consumed. That is the exact same MO as the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry that I have looked into, that links straight to CERN Limited and the Collider technology again. And it also links to it's Mandelson, isn't it? Peter Mandelson, the Jeffrey Epstein side of things, okay, straight in from the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry. So there's obviously this connection to an infiltration of Christianity, the true bloodline of Christ, and them thinking for whatever reason, but I think you've got an offshoot because of the link in with Christianity and the crimes going with the children surrounding it. You've then had all of these other people coming on and they're using it as an excuse for the abuse of children and all of this other thing. And obviously, it's all linking in through the international government fraud with the finances and the laundering of the money in relation to it. So, the key is this company's house fraud. It literally is the key to all of the world's problems. It's the key to saving the children. It's the key to saving creation. And and for whatever reason, I'm right in the middle of all of this. Now, somebody said to me today, Gary, and I think they're compromised. I'm waiting to see what they say in response. They say, Gary, what if they're setting you up as the false Messiah? And absolutely, I've got to consider that. But we've got to say, well, what? Now, I think you're obviously going to have good people within this criminal system. It looks as though you've got some good people who've infiltrated the criminal network and the crimes against the children and had to make it look as though they are part of it to somehow facilitate me with who I may be in this. So you've got to ask yourselves, if they're setting up some sort of false Messiah element with me in all of this, what's the motive for that? Because let's face it, what I'm doing is not destroying faith, which is what the Albert Pike letter seems to have set out to do. So it can't be that, these people behind the Albert Pike letter are doing it, because they've actually written in with the Albert Pike letter is to destroy Christianity and destroy the Muslim faith. Well, I'm not facilitating that. In fact, if anything, I'm saying it says within the scripture, love thy neighbor, and it says thou not shalt kill. These are key foundations. But I do believe that the scripture has been infiltrated. So then you've got to ask yourselves, well, why would you expose yourselves by setting me up as a fake Messiah or false Messiah? Why would you expose yourselves as part of that and expose the entire world's criminal network to get me to actually bring in truth, transparency, and trust to prevent this ever happening again and practically bring heaven on earth? This is literally what we're on the edge of here. We are literally on the edge of the end of everything, potentially, according to the research. All right. I don't think that's meant to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. But we're on the edge of creating, if you don't want to call it on heaven on earth, let's just say a system of complete transparency, whether it's integrity, equality, fairness for all of humanity, no matter what skin color somebody is, no matter what their culture is, no matter where they live, no matter what sex somebody is. We're literally on the verge of being able to do that because of this evidence. So, and then you've got the added concern is, how have they been able to manipulate time? Now, what we are saying, if we're saying they're setting me up as a false Messiah, then we've got to say, well, what's their motive for doing that? Because they're not going to gain anything from it other than creation is going to gain from it through its protection, and children are going to gain from it through their protection. So then you've got to suggest, where was I going to go with that? Something really important. It's gone out of my brain now. I was going to say something really, really important then about that. It's completely gone. That's frustrating. Oh, that's it. So then you've got to say, well, how have they manipulated my brain? I can understand they might have manipulated my thoughts, okay, through some sort of technology they may have. But to time that with manipulating time and manipulating the evidence that I'm looking at the same time, I'm talking about my dreams, my vision that I had, and then how that led into other evidence at the same time. I just don't think that's the case. Now, I think they want me to believe that may be the case, because then that creates doubts about the creator. Because if we're saying that they are manipulating time, space, and matter, then we're practically saying that they are the creator. But I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe they are the God. I don't say God because I believe that's gold, oil, and drugs, potentially as a mockery again against all of you praying to God. But I don't think that's the case. And I think what they have done is set things up to make it seem that way, because then that separates humanity from the creator again. That makes you doubt the creator, when to me, it's blatantly obvious there's a creator. It's blatantly obvious. And that creator isn't me. That creator can't be you, because you didn't create the earth, the natural, amazing natural world that we live in. And it is absolutely amazing, this earth. Okay, when you look at the natural world, the design, the symmetry, the complexity, we can't create anything anywhere near it. Okay, it's obviously, in my mind, it's obviously got a creator. It's blatantly obvious. So then you, with that as the foundation and having that sort of belief system, you can then work out, well, what's gone wrong, what's happened. And then you build on, all of the evil that I'm seeing through this system, linking in with, it seems, the manipulation of weather, the manipulation of even earthquakes, the potential manipulation of health to actually create cancer, which obviously those things, if you see them and you're skeptical about the creator, then that casts doubt on the creator. Why has a child got cancer in their eye or whatever? Why is there an earthquake that's killed however many people? But if they are the ones that have created it and it's not the creator, then of course it brings you back to the creator. And we have to really seriously consider that, because we've now got the evidence proving pretty much that they have, at least through the records that I produced, the ability to potentially cause these horrible things that occur to Earth on Earth. And of course, if you look at how now you tie this in with the satanic element and the inversion that they're clearly involved in, inverting everything away from creation, okay, trying to separate you all from the creator, then it's easy to see the agenda behind all of those things that I've just talked about. It's easy to see, well, actually, yeah, that makes sense now that they would do this, and this is why transgenderism was pushed as a government agenda, an inversion, a natural inversion of creation, a deception to make you believe men are women, women are men. It's completely satanic. Okay, I'm not saying those people that have had a sex change are satanic, because they may well have been victimized by a government agenda which is satanic, you see. And it's very, very clear that the whole system we've got is a satanic agenda and satanic system, or the opposite, let's say the opposite of moral conscience is the best way of putting it. Now, it's a very quick live. I'm not going to stay on very long. We're just going to come to any questions. True Christians don't follow Jews who rejected Jesus, someone said. Something is happening with Jackie's put, something's happening with the elites, I think that's supposed to say. Someone I follow is connected to the Galactic Federation. I believe that's a complete deception, Jackie. Right, the whole alien, at the moment, all of the evidence I've got suggests that is a complete deception. All right, you've got the likes of David Icke supporting it. Remember, he's linked to the intelligence agencies, the international drug trafficking, and the blood of the children. Now, they will be desperate to give an excuse or get an excuse and a way out of this, potentially an exit ramp in relation to this as they become cornered. The best thing they can come up with is a fake alien invasion or lizard people or shapeshifters. But the trouble is, everybody, it's completely compromised that agenda or that idea, because it's already linked into the company's house frauds and the international drug trafficking network, the blood of the children, into the Vatican, and everything I'm exposing. So therefore, it's not going to be real, is it? Now, I'm open to change. Of course I am. If I see information and evidence to support that, then maybe. But this is what has happened. They even tried massively to convince me that there were aliens, and those people that were trying to convince me, the likes of Deborah Evershed, who's linked to Jane Evershed, who is connected to Sasha Stone, they're connected in through the research to the police, to the intelligence agencies, to the blood of the tortured children, to the Vatican, in fact, massively linked into it. So that tells us straight away that it's a lie, and that was part of their deception. And this, of course, explains why you had the 3-eye Atlas comet. They claimed that they saw that in July 2025, the same month that the main currency producer suddenly got purchased by Atlas Holdings, came off the London Stock Exchange for the first time since 1947, when the doomsday clock began. So they were obviously trying to set up some sort of deception, I think, based on the evidence I've got at the moment. As I've said, I'm open and subject to changing my opinion on this. Of course I am. But at the moment, the evidence is absolutely massive that this is a deception. And if you look at as disclosures have happened in relation to, for example, pilots of aeroplanes, look back, it's happened since 2022. They've been coming out and talking about it, everybody. 2022 is when I started exposing the international government fraud. Someone's put, direct democracy isn't a lie, Gary. No, but the democratic system they've got in place is a lie. It's a deception. They're all involved, reform, all involved, linked to the blood of the children. It's a completely centralized criminal system. Everyone needs to understand that. Completely centralized. And what I mean by that is all of the big companies are connected to the politicians, all right? All of the big organizations you're aware of, not just in this country, they're all connected. So you've got, for example, Walmart, which is the Americans' version, connected version to Asda. It's all connected to Asda, but it's also connected to Tesco. It's also connected to Morrison's. They're all connected, all right? And they've done that through the currency production, because they were involved in the currency production, which links into vampirism, let me just add. Okay, the vampirism element in this is very real. And I don't mean people with fangs. I mean the consumption of the blood in all of this. So this, again, gives the ability to hide the connection to the Christianity element of this in through the vampirism link, okay? And this is why you've got, I believe, you had Charles came out and said that he is a descendant of Vlad the Impaler. Well, that links in with everything that I'm already exposing. And the first article for that came out 2 days, I think it was 2 days before Jimmy Savile died, supposedly. And now they're claiming that Donald Trump is a distant cousin of Donald Trump, which means he's also going to be a descendant of Vlad the Impaler. When Vlad Impaler was in the 13th century, which ties into all of my research coming in from the Khans, okay, Khan, which links back into Mongolia and all this, which goes back, actually ties into the connection I found now to the Tibetan monks. So that it all goes back a very, very long way. So all of these organizations and all of these faith groups are all compromised by the satanic elements, right? Now ask yourself why nobody else in the world, as far as I'm aware, nobody else in the world has a bit of a platform, and I don't have much because they're suppressing it. Why am I the only one calling for a transparent financial system and a system that will prevent this ever happening again? And I'm talking about full accountability and liability. Nobody else is doing that. Why am I the only one that is publicly disabled a cell tower, as far as I'm aware, in the world, showing their face, giving their name? Let's have a look at the comments. I'm going to head off actually very, very soon. I'll just see if there's any obvious questions. Right, evil is running amok. God, just stick with facts till you work out who you are. That part. I'm giving you the fact via the research. This is what the research shows. Okay, this is what all of the research is saying. Okay. There's even a company called Tramp to Vamp. Okay, Tramp to Vamp. It was incorporated 2 days after the World Trade Center disaster. It connects immediately to Expo Manor, where my investigation began. Not only that, I found that company coming in from the illegal organ harvesting, linking in with the NHS. Tramp to Vamp, everybody. Tramp to Vamp. Has everyone remembered to click the 3 dots top right corner, then click chat filter, then click all messages? I didn't know about that. Breakthrough after the breakdown. Someone's put. Presented his finding in medical doctors for COVID ethics, a misnomer, as there are no ethics in anything we have witnessed over the last 6 years. Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. I'm contracting hantavirus just to see what it feels like. You went against the way they laid for you. Yeah, it's possible they were setting me up to fit their agenda, and I've had to think about this all of the way through this. I've had to be thinking, well, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? Why are they giving me that information? What could that mean? What are they aiming for? And a big part of it seems to be the Albert Pike letter could be a reverse psychology, all right, that's potentially there to, because it says destroy Christianity and it says bring about the light of Lucifer. It's possible that they knew I would identify that was trying to destroy Christianity, and therefore I would go against it to actually turn everyone back to moral conscience and bring people back to Christ, if you like. That's possible. That's the sort of level I have to be thinking of here, of the double deceptions, triple deceptions even. However, everything that when I'm looking at the overall evidence, everything I'm saying is making absolute complete sense based on all of that evidence that I'm seeing when you put it all together. Now, I suggest you need the document if you haven't already got it, and I will be sending it out soon. Hopefully, those of you who got the previous document will have looked at it, and even with all of its spelling mistakes, it's not the, I'm not the best at this. All I'm doing is trying my best. Could have been a lot better, but here I am. I'm doing my best on my phone with the facilities I have to do this. But the next document is going to have all of the stuff in it about me. It's going to have the stuff about the X's and the bloodline of Christ in all of this. That was the other thing I was going to say earlier. So not only, okay, so you had the, what was it? What was it? There was another connection to Marvel. So I said about the connection to the X-Men, the same date as the activation of the relativistic heavy ion collider. I think when I came in from the globe, I then found the sphere that was positioned in between the World Trade Center buildings in towers. I think it found it was a connection into the Marvel again, which would mean, oh, yeah, it was the sphere. Okay, I forgot this. This is really important. So not only was that connection made to the, as I've said, the world premiere, or certainly the New York premiere of X-Men, the same date as the activation of the relativistic heavy ion collider. When I came in from the research of the sphere that was positioned, as I've said, between there, I made a link to Marvel immediately from it. Not only that, and that was a connection to S.H.I.E.L.D., okay, coming in from that sphere. S.H.I.E.L.D. is obviously linked into Marvel characters, and that was because, that was it. Now my memory's coming back because I haven't got it in front of me. Koenig, okay, was also a family within Marvel. Koenig, the same spelling as the person that designed that sphere within the building. So that made a link to Marvel. But then when I went in, and S.H.I.E.L.D., remember, S.H.I.E.L.D. links to Marvel. The Rothschilds connect to the Red Shield, don't they? The Shield. So that makes a link to the Rothschilds and the Shield. And then when you went in from the company, the Koenig company that I established, there was a Rothschilds company and links to the Flemings and the Doomsday Cult, and also the Iona end of the world prophecy, which links to the island of Iona with St. Columbus that apparently said the world was going to end with a beam of light coming up from off the coast of Scotland. Now, it's interesting because the research of Aleister Crowley also connects to Iona, but he claims, or there's a connection to him, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it says that Iona is island, as in island off the coast of, the big island country. But the other research of Iona says, well, no, Iona is just this little island off the coast of Scotland. So I found that very interesting. So was Iona originally a name given to Ireland, and that somehow is going to be involved in their prophetic conclusion, or they want me to think it is? Who knows? But what I would say in all of this is, obviously, all of the other evidence that I'm finding aside from the company's house records is added evidence. Okay, that's just supplementary to the chain of evidence that it appears they've left for the right person through the company's house records to expose the entire world's criminal network and how it links into the blood. And I can't emphasize this enough. They could have hidden that in a much better way. They have left a trail of evidence for the right person to expose it. All right. Now, and it seems that person is me. So this also fits potentially. They've left a trail for either a false messiah, but then it would expose them all to this, or they've left a trail as a mockery to see who the right person, the real person in all of this, who is relevant to maybe the bloodline of Christ or whatever, to see if they will find this trail of evidence to actually expose the entire system. Someone's put, I am bored and sick of it all. Death's a mercy. No, it's not really, is it? Look, I look at the position I'm in. Look at what I'm doing. I'm living in a tent. This isn't bigging me up or anything. I'm just telling you. And I had a conversation with someone the other night. I'm still so incredibly positive. I still love my life. I still love going and walking in nature. I still love seeing the animals and the birds. And, it sounds cheesy, but I love it. Even with what I'm dealing with, even not knowing if I'm going to be living one day to the next because of what I'm exposing. I just think this world's incredible. So that positivity will be transferred across through into a new system, you see. So honestly, it's the key to everything. It really is. You need to identify the 3 types of Jews you're talking about. 3 types of Jews. Well, I think they've all been infiltrated. Okay, every single element of this is compromised. I don't think they actually know what to really believe. I think they're so lost, so irrational. They're possibly been trying to bring about the Creator, and they've been going about it the wrong way. I believe through our moral conscience, the Creator's probably always been here, but the irrationality of the human mind, because of substances and other things, have actually separated us from the Creator, and we've lost sight of, I believe, the value in nature, and through the moral conscience, the actual Creator in this. Oh, Trump released UFO website today. Interesting. Thank you very much for that. Very interesting. I'll have a little look at that. Wasn't aware of that. Thank you. Gary, Grania tried to befriend me and I refused her. Bigfoot is real, someone's put. What about Rupert Lowe, Jackie's put? Massively compromised. Massively compromised. He links very quickly to my former school via a company on his incorporation document. He links to criminal firearms companies that appear to be linking to the crimes against the children. You're talking almost immediately. He's linked, I think if you put him on Company's House, you'll see 51 companies. One of them is Southampton Football Club, which I know is already a criminal company and goes straight into the football industry, which is massively connected to the criminal network and all of this. He's massively compromised. Who goes out of their own way to listen to Trump? He's an actor, someone has put. Some strange stuff in the UK, Candy, USA, Woods, Natural Park. Sorry, some strange stuff in UK, Candy, USA, Woods, Natural Park at the minute. Okay. Someone's put that. Someone's put, I think Rupert Lowe is a good man, not bought and paid for. Look, you can't trust anyone if they're not talking about the Company's House fraud. It's that simple. He's connected to it, unfortunately. You can't trust him. As soon as he comes out and says, look, all right, everyone, we've had a system of money laundering in place, and this is what we're going to do to resolve it, then you can start listening to Rupert Lowe. Possibly. And then you'll be listening to what measures they are implementing to try and prevent it. Prophetic dreams are real too. Proven. Someone's put, yeah, I mean, 100% happening with me. So, yeah, they've got to be. I haven't had any in the last few days. One of the interesting ones I have, which, again, becomes very, very relevant in all of this. What's the time? Because I don't want to be too late. I had a dream out of the blue. I put the date in my document. I can't remember when it was, but it was last year. And I suddenly had a dream that the Earth was concaved in the top and the bottom of the Earth at the North and the South Pole. So it was indented, if you like. And I've never dreamt that in my life. Felt very, very strange. So I actually contacted someone who believes that there's a flat Earth. And they said, oh, that sounds like the Taurus field, which I'd heard of, but I hadn't looked into it. So I then researched the Taurus field. And the Taurus field is the central magnetic field of the Earth, if you like, where it curves in at the top, curves in at the bottom, almost like an apple. Well, this now becomes incredibly relevant in all of this, okay? Because when you look at that, that relates to the, as I've said, the Earth's magnetic field, which means it's going to be linking with the evidence they've got around CERN and the Hadron Collider, because they work around magnetic fields. They're all magnet technology, okay? And CSM, I think it's called CSM. Yeah, it's CSM. If you look at CSM, CERN, go and look at it. They're claiming they have enough power through that one particular device to create a magnetic field 100,000 times more powerful than the Earth. Why would you even need that power? Let's ask yourself that. Okay, let's ask yourself that. Whilst I'm providing the evidence of the end of all of creation agenda in this, well, that would facilitate the end of creation, wouldn't it? If they've really got that technology. Anyway, I then looked into it. The torus field, very interesting. The apple becomes relevant to the torus field because it's got the concave into the top where the stalk is and the bottom. And the apple obviously represents, or could represent, Adam and Eve and the tree of life and the apple. And then that ties in then with what was his name? Isaac Newton, sat under the apple tree with the apple falling, which represents and links back to gravity, gravitational pull. Now, the company that they started when I was born in 1977 was called the Foundation of Technology and Science, or something similar. I can't remember the exact name. Within that document, the directors link immediately to Isaac Newton, something or other company. It also connects to the Christchurch Earthquake Appeal Company, which ties into me. It also connects to the Big Bang Theory, or Big Bang Company as well, which then links into the expansion and expansion of the universe, the beginning, according to their scientists, and the contraction being the destruction, the point of singularity, or the black hole that they seem to be been trying to create using the collider technology. And again, I bring you back to the 100,000 times more powerful than the entire Earth's magnetic field in one contraption that they have built. Go and look at it. If you type in CMS CERN, go and read that article on the CERN website. You will see it says 100,000 times more powerful than the world's entire magnetic field. Why would they have that, everybody? It's obvious, isn't it? It's obvious. There's only one reason you would want that sort of technology. It's not going to be good for Earth, is it? All right. So anyway, where were we? Yeah, and that organisation connects to Ghislaine Maxwell very, very quickly. This Science and Foundation Technology, and it dissolved in December 2022. Go and look at it. Go and type in Foundation Science and Technology. You'll see it was incorporated the year I was born, and it was dissolved in December 2022, which is the exact same month that I actually made the first report to Action Fraud, the international government fraud in place, in that month. Now, also, there was a guy, I can't remember his name, who was a director of that company, and he was the prince's, when Charles was the prince, he was something to do with I can't remember the exact position, but it was quite an important position for Prince Charles, and he stopped that position in 1977. He stopped having that position, which was the year that I was born. The Albert Pike letter was removed from public view the year I was born. Star Wars A New Hope came out, the movie, and via Sasha Stone, there's a company called Jedi Management, and that goes straight to Export Manor Freehold Limited, where my investigation began. And also, I'm going off topic a little bit here, but Star Wars was purchased by Disney on the exact same day that the Mayan calendar ended in 2012. And 2012 is the year that there was a meeting between Jeffrey Epstein, Stephen Hawking, and CERN scientists on the 19th of April, I believe, 2012. Less than 3 months before CERN claims to have discovered the Higgs boson, a God particle, on the 4th of July 2012. And I think, or they want me to think, and they want people to think, through this evidence, I have to consider that it was real and they were trying to do it, and that they were trying to create a point of singularity in that year to tie in with the end of the Mayan calendar. And there's loads of other evidence to support that, such as 2009, the 2012 movie was released, and actually Roland Emmerich, who produced or directed that movie, which came out in 2009, called 2012, which was about an apocalyptic event on Earth, earthquakes and tsunamis. He is connected to that research coming in that I told you about earlier from the X-Men producer. Literally straight away, Roland Emmerich is linked into this research of, they had an A-list paedophile network set up, according to the research I've got, tying in with loads of murders. That links in with the producer, Bryan Singer, of the X-Men movie that was first released on the day that the relativistic heavy ion collider was activated for the first time in 2000. And it just happened to be the year after that the World Trade Center disaster collapsed. Hi, Gary. Good to hear from you. Thanks very much, XX. Have you made any links to the disappearance of unalived scientists? I still need to do the research. What did I find? Oh, thank you. I mean, this is divine, isn't it? Well, it could be coincidence, this particular thing. However, I'm definitely being guided. But so you've just actually unbelievable. I've just read that. What I've just told you about, linking in with Roland Emmerich and this paedophile ring, there's a NASA scientist that was going to the same people and involved in that paedophile network linking in with the murders. Yep, unbelievable. You just said that, and now it links in with NASA straight away. I just remembered, because obviously it's written down, so I haven't got it in front of me. So, yeah, I think what you've got is they realise their entire fake space deception is all coming out now. So, of course, they'll be saying, well, what do we do about this? We've been part of this deception as NASA scientists for all these years, and now it's been linked to the blood of the children and the money laundering against most of humanity, and how that all ties in with the blood of the children. What do we do? Now, they could be, obviously, you might get some of them wanting to commit suicide. You might get some of them saying, look, we need to be given new identities. You need to make it look like we're dead so that we can go and have another life, because we're not going to come out the other side of this very well with all of this coming out. It could be that people are trying to speak up about it within their positions and they're being unalived. I doubt that very much. I doubt that's happening. I think it's more likely going to be one of those first two options that I've told you about, that they are either committing suicide or they're being given new identities, new lives, and making it seem that they are being unalived and going missing, etc. And of course, they've got unlimited money, so they could then hide the entire family in another part of the world, give another reason to the families, okay, that might not be involved in the crimes against the children and the deception, and then just go and create a new life. You see, this is the sort of thing that will 100% be going on in elements of this. I'm going to head off. It's getting quite late. I've stayed on longer than I thought. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm sorry I didn't get round to the questions. All of the questions, I'm still putting the evidence in. Every day, it's just blowing my mind continuously. What I've found over the last couple of days is very, very, very relevant in all of this, and obviously connected. This ties into the evidence that suggests, just very quickly, that suggests that the people that escaped from Alcatraz in 1962 are actually the fake 3 astronauts for the moon landing in 1969. And I'm getting evidence to support that that's the case. So, yeah, the deception is... My signal went then, sorry. I was just wrapping up, just saying they haven't really got a choice if they want to do the right thing. Let's put it that way. It's quite possible they could do the very wrong thing, the biggest wrong thing possible. But the only right thing they can do is full disclosure of the truth, full repentance, and a commitment to change. That's the only right thing. I think if they don't do that, then they've got everything to lose in all of this. Whatever they do to the rest of humanity, I think they've got everything to lose. Probably, and I was praying earlier, and I actually said to myself, I pray for those people more than anyone else, okay, because they have got the most to lose, I believe, spiritually in all of this, okay? So they actually need most prayers, and you might disagree with that, and I understand. However, they're the ones that really do need to realise what's at stake for them in all of this and come forward in truth, as I've said, repentance and commitment to change. Thanks very much, everyone. Take care of yourselves, and I will. What I'll be doing is regular lives soon. When I've got the document out, I'm literally going to be doing regular lives, going through some of the key evidence, talking about it, discussing it, and in that same time, trying to decide what I do next in all of this. So, yeah. Thanks very much, everyone. All the best. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.